Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to American Defender. So today, what we are going to do is I'm going to teach you how to do a safety check on a Glock. All right. This will work on a lot of other striker-fired pistols as well. So what I have here is a Stoeger STR9. I know it's not a Glock. Internally, it's the same thing. Okay. So a safety check. What do I mean by safety check? Am I talking about checking your chamber? No. I'm talking about how to check your internals to make sure everything is the way it should be. And there's also a drop test that would go along with this, which we're not going to perform, right? But you can do that yourself with a mallet, or you can drop it yourself on a phone book, or do it however you want to do it. Okay. But this is the check that you would do prior to doing the drop test to make sure the thing is even gonna pass the drop test. You can pass this test and not pass a drop test. But if you don't pass this test, you've automatically failed the drop test. Get it? Okay. So, gun is clear. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take it apart. I mean, there's nothing new here. We've all seen these things come apart. The slide we'll get to here in a minute. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to push forward on our trigger bar, and we are going to engage our trigger safety. Okay, and you can do this if the gun shop you're at and you're looking at a used gun, if they'll let you take the slide off real quick and perform these tests, that's great. If not, ask them if they will do it for you if they know the tests. If they don't, then, and you still buy the gun, you can get home and do this and then figure out what parts you need to replace. Okay. So again, we're going to push forward here, or we can also just grab the trigger, pull it forward, let our trigger safety engage. And then what we're going to do is you can put this down on a table, or you can put it in your hand. You're going to grab the sides of the trigger and you're going to push back. Do not touch the safety at all, because that is the piece that we're checking to make sure that it's engaged, it doesn't slip or anything. And we're just going to pull back real hard on it, all right? And as you can see there, this one passes that test, okay? Once it passes that test, we're going to leave this trigger forward. Then what we're going to do is come up to our cruciform right here, all right? We're going to take something hard, giggity, and we're going to press on the front of the cruciform here to make sure that this is making contact with the little shelf that's underneath it. I'm going to call it a safety shelf, all right, for lack of a better term, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to press right here, and we want to press pretty hard on it, all right. And what you're looking for here when you're pressing on it is you don't want any movement. All right, you don't want it to move. And this one has no movement. So that would be a pass. Okay. If you had an armorer's dust cover basically on the back here, your locking plate, then what we could do is we could put that on there and check our engagement. You're supposed to have at least 66% engagement between the back of the cruciform here and your striker. All right, we can check that. The main things to look at is trigger safety, pressing on that cruciform. Okay, those are the main things you want to look at on the frame. The slide. What we're going to look at on the slide is this. We're not going to touch anything in here except for the striker, and we want to push forward on it with our finger or a tool like so, and you want to push forward on it a little hard, right? And while you're doing that, you want to make sure that that firing pin does not protrude forward, all right, without pushing this little guy, all right, because that what we're doing is testing that this and the striker are engaging, all right. This is your detent for that, all right. So we're going to push forward on it, and you can see there it's fine. If I was to stick my finger in here and push this forward, that's what you would see right there. If it was You can kind of see it there. All right. That's what you would see if it failed. All right. That would be a fail right there. Trying to get the camera. You see the firing pin protrude out of the front, and then it comes back. Now if I push on it without pushing the detent, it doesn't go forward. Okay, so that is the safety test, and that is what needs to be done on a lot of these striker fired guns. Okay, again, this is the STR-9. This gun has 50,000 rounds through it. All right, but you can see here that everything's fine. Springs. This is kind of extra information. Now, if you have a Glock, factory Glock springs, your recoil spring is good for 5,000 rounds. All the other springs inside your gun are good for 15. Okay. If you buy something aftermarket in terms of a recoil spring, it's good for 2,500 rounds. Typically speaking, like if it's from the Glock store or something like that, they're not as good of a spring, in my opinion. Okay, they're 2,500 rounds. So to test that, I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and do all this back on here. All right. So what we're going to do, all right, we're going to dry fire, point it in the safe direction, dry fire, keep our finger on the trigger. We're going to come back and we're going to ease forward. And what you want to see is that it goes all the way forward into battery. If it does not go all the way forward into battery, if it does something and it looks kind of like that, all right, or this, you know, where it's not all the way forward, that is a sign that you need a new recoil spring. And it could also mean that you need a new striker spring. It could mean you need both springs. Okay. So that is your basic, very basic rundown, without getting into all the other, you know, little intricacies of the Glock pistol and a striker fired pistol that you should be looking for when you are purchasing a Glock, when you are maintaining your Glock, that or striker fired pistols like the STR-9, the G-Force Raptor X, you know, things like that. Even your P80s, your daggers, and you know, that's the stuff you need to be looking at, and that's how you tell if you need to make a repair, if the gun is safe to carry or not. You know, if in the case of like doing this test here, if it fails this test, either this safety's worn out or your frame. Okay. In the back there with the cruciform, if it isn't sitting on the shelf and it's bouncing a little bit, if you feel comfortable enough doing this, what you can do is you can tweak the cruciform a little bit. You bend the nose of it down, which is going to bend the back of it up, which is going to increase the engagement on your striker, which in turn can increase your trigger pull weight. All right, it can, or at least the length of it. Not so much the weight, but really the length. All right. This is why I've always said myself, it's better just to stick with stock parts and don't screw around with the aftermarket when you're messing with a carry gun. Okay, you want to stick to factory parts. There's legal reasons, and then there's functional reasons. Okay, so that is how you go about doing all of this. Pretty painless, right? Pretty painless. Get out there and get her done, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. Just wanted to share that with y'all, and I thank you for watching. If you like this stuff, hit subscribe, hit like, and don't forget to check me out on Rumble over there at American Defender Channel on Rumble. I'll see y'all on the flip. Bye now.